It is such an honor, such a gift to be with you here this morning. Breathe it in and breathe it out. I am Tuesday Mae Thomas, and this is 4D Trinity, where we bridge fourth dimensional consciousness through the unity of mind, body, and emotions. And what is 4D, fourth dimensional consciousness? It is the plane of the heart center. It is the space within you and within all of us. It is the space within the spaces within all things where truth resides. What is that truth? What I teach, what I share here at 4D Trinity is that love is the truth. And love is always the song of your heart. Your heart will always guide you in the way of truth, your love, and your light. And as we start to honor that truth within ourselves, that truth of love and light in our minds, in our bodies, through our emotional selves, begin to bridge the gap of all of those parts of selves that have felt for so long, perhaps fragmented, disassociated, or out of balance with one another. And as we align and bring those aspects of self into alignment, we naturally find our superpower. We naturally find our ability to suddenly begin to bridge heaven on earth realization. And heaven on earth realization is all about living in the world, being in the world and not of it. Living from a place of your truth that is often not the status quo, that often does not reflect the majority or the mainstream, the seeming truth that the mainstream would believe is what is fact. And so here we come together and we explore our multidimensionality. We explore all the ways that we exist through and beyond a multitude of dimensions. And we learn to master those parts of ourselves. We learn to understand that there are quantum realities, quantum timelines, and that parts of ourselves exist throughout all time and space and all dimensions. And again, as these pieces are recognized as being fragmented over time and space, as we heal ourselves, ultimately, the elixir is self-love as we learn practices and modalities to quiet the mind, to move us away from the distractions of the 3D, of the binary system, of the matrix system. We come into a deeper alignment with a much larger system that has no walls, that has no ending and no beginning, but that simply is. And again, that isness is the truth in you. It's the truth in me. And I call that love. And that love is the quantum organizer. When we create the correct conditions within ourselves for love to flourish, for love to abide as the primal force that we use as alchemists within our labs, our internal labs of self, we give rise to those correct conditions, permeating, cultivating, nourishing, and fortifying all of those parts of self that are ready to align with love. And as love is our true nature, those parts of ourselves that have become fragmented and that have forgotten or have lost their way or that have never known that love is the truth, begin to awaken in the light, in the love of your awareness, in your practice of your spiritual modalities, your modalities that bring of the status quo, out of the mainstream way of thinking. And if you're watching this show, chances are that you're already coloring outside the lines, that you're already initiating yourself into deeper aspects of who you are in this world and how you can bridge more of your truth into this tiny little body, this tiny little vehicle. When you think about the enormity of all time and space, and we think about this tiny little being that we are here, yet all the macrocosm is contained within this microcosm and vice versa. And I see Will is here. Blessings. Thank you so much for signing on. If you're here and watching, drop a little line in the comment box. I'm so very grateful for all of you. So let's go ahead and cut back here. I want to say thank you to all of the new subscribers. I'm so very grateful. Literally every single time I come online and I check my YouTube, I hop on, there's like just more subscribers. And so I'm so very grateful. I pray and I affirm that everything I share here fully serves your path of spiritual growth and spiritual sovereignty. And spiritual growth is this path of self-love. It is all the ways that we learn how to harness the innate divinity that we already are. Everything that you need is already within you. And what we do here at 4D Trinity, what we do here on my tarot readings and everything that I offer here is we uncover the truth. We allow ourselves to come back to a space of remembering what is true to us. And I offer you guidelines. I hold a certain light and open certain doorways. And as it resonates in your truth, you might go through one doorway and not another. But ultimately, all of these roads offered lead us back to one, or at least that's the intention, is that we come back to that oneness, to that unity consciousness, and that is heaven on earth realization. And that's what we're bridging as we connect mind, body, emotions into that 4D consciousness, as we align mind, body, and emotions to love, like fiercely, like on purpose, not just like blasé, or again, that turns into a status quo, hamster on the wheel of like, oh yeah, I gotta meditate. Oh yeah, I gotta send myself some love. Now that meditation and that love is still gonna work, but what we've been talking about for several weeks now in the tarot and also on these 4D Trinities is that master within you, the higher self that you are intimately connected to as that higher self, which is the voice of the Holy Spirit, which is the voice for God, if you will, aka love, the almighty, omniscient. As we allow ourselves to follow the divine guidance of that higher self, of love, and put into alignment those parts of our mind, body, and emotions that have once been discombobulated, been fragmented, we come into that divine alignment again, where we can shoot through the minutia, connect beyond what is shown to us in this 3D collective consciousness that is the matrix, what we call here, what I teach as being the grid, generated rhythms of interconnected dimensional systems. Again, we are multidimensional. You exist, right? In this world, you exist in the past and the future. Yet ultimately what we learn on our spiritual path is that there is only now. And as we learn to bring all of those parts of ourselves that might be scattered in the past or hurt from the past, feeling shame, vulnerability, trauma from the past, and as we relax and take a load off of the stress that we might create for ourselves in the seeming future that isn't even here yet, we collapse those timelines, those elusive timelines that only exist in our minds, and we allow ourselves to come into the fullness of the present moment. And why I don't say that it's unifying with 4D consciousness through the unity of mind, body, and spirit, because what I teach, what I know, is that spirit is whole. Spirit is always whole. I think that's part of the illusion, is that we learn that our spirit can become unwhole. Or if you've watched these shows, you know that I teach that your soul, that's just a story, that your soul can be sold or can be like ripped apart or hurt or whatever in any way. That's your 3D matrix story. The ultimate truth, if you should receive it, is that you are unfuckable with, through all dimensions, through all time and space. Yet it is your consideration, it is your awareness, it is your allowing that to be your truth, if you should choose it, to be what you lean into, to be what your experience is. So spirit and truth and your soul is unfuckable with. It is one. It is a constant of love, a constant of light. And as you align these physical, these 3D aspects, mind, body, emotions, you naturally become at one with spirit. You naturally align with that divinity And so it is. So boom, good morning. I'm so excited today. This show is very much inspired by someone new. If you know, I'm on Instagram and I love Instagram. All of my links and tags and stuff are down in the show more box. And today's show, We Are All Neos, is inspired by a gentleman that I believe his name, how he goes by, is C Free, capital letter C dash FREE. He has a podcast called This Esoteric Life podcast, and I follow him. I found him on Instagram. And just like, I don't know, I've maybe been following not even a whole month and just like instantly digging everything that this person posts and starting to listen to the podcast and checking it out. And he recently did a post. And the top line of the post, and I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to show it to you as well. But is where he's alluding to that we are all Neos. That we all have, this is like this divine archetype. This is this divine path that we can choose if we shall receive it. That we can adventure if we shall receive it. But it is quite deep, right? Because there's this aspect of giving up a certain part of who you think you are, of giving up a certain landscape to what you think the world is. And of course, that is natural. What we learn is that these aspects are required. These collapsing of timelines, these unfolding of untruths, the dissolving, the dematerializing of those DNAs that are no longer necessary for your flight. Right? The more that we fire up and we activate our 4D consciousness, the space of our hearts, our ability to love ourselves, to love our brothers, our sisters, our communities, the world, even if it looks crazy and cuckoo from what is shown to us through mainstream media, etc. We can see with that light side, with the third eye activated, see beyond the matrix, see beyond the illusion, use your 4D consciousness, that pineal gland, your light sight and your heart to see through the veils of illusion, to see through the matrix, and we bridge heaven on earth in this way. We are at once one with spirit, one with soul, the one spirit, the one soul that incorporates and encompasses all of us. And we're at one, put into alignment with that love, with that light that is within all of us. And it is that light that lights the way home. And home is not somewhere that we're going to get to later in the future using 3D timelines. Home is now. Home is now. Home is every time you rest in your heart space. Home is every time you extend non-judgment or forgiveness to your brother and sister. Every time you place love over fear, you're bridging your way back home. What I teach here is that home is that heaven on earth realization. It is a consciousness that is concentrated at the heart. It is akin to Christ consciousness, which is pretty badass. Yet it is also full of grace. It is gentle, it is compassionate, it is understanding, and it is holy, it is sacred, and it is mightily detached from what the world looks like, from what the world is showing us on the outside. And these are the parts of ourselves that we are connecting to, that we are becoming more and more empowered by and aligning with on our journey home, which is every moment, which is right now. And as we learn to exercise these muscles and gain capacity, gain a relationship, a communication with these synapses, with these grids, with these parts of ourselves that connect us either to the world, to binary, to the matrix, to the 3D, or through our hearts, to the earth, to heaven on earth realization, to namaste consciousness, to Christ consciousness, to unity consciousness. As we begin to awaken, we begin to exist on a different dimension, 4D, in the fourth dimensional consciousness of the heart space. And we hold that space open for our brothers and our sisters, for our communities, for our families and our friends. As we radiate and resonate that, we are a portal to that energy through which our friends, our families, our communities can see themselves in that light as well. Yet, as you go on your trip, as you embody your inner Neo, right? There may be some friends or family members or parts of the community, brothers and sisters, that are not in agreement, are not in alignment, and that don't want to go where you're going, and that's fine. Because this is all about you. This is all about your journey and how you navigate your path of love and light, how you navigate your path of fear and death. Because ultimately, what we begin to understand is that a part of us gets to die. A part of us gets to dissolve, dematerialize, those old DNAs, collapsing timelines, collapsing memory, cellular memory in the body, releasing, forgiving so hard, so deep that you forget. You no longer need to carry those pains or those reasons, those triggers, why you judged, why you held a grudge. Wiping the slate clean, moving into the heart space, moving into 4D, into greater harmony, greater health, greater wealth, greater joy, greater ease. And it is a different dimension. And you can have one foot in the 3D and one foot in the 4D, right? You can be in the matrix and still have a conscious awareness that there's much more going on beyond it. And you can play the game. And you can be the light worker, the light bearer on both sides, bridging the gap. However you're guided to be it is up to you. So again, I'm so very grateful you joined this morning. If you have hopped on, drop a little line in the comment box. I am very grateful. And I did make us up a little presentation for today, and I am always so excited to share with you these presentations. And again, I give super mega props up to This Esoteric Life podcast. It's a website. Go online, check them out. They just click on any of their podcasts and give a listen to Seafree, these concepts and these guests that he has on. And it's inspiring me because, as you know, I mentioned several months ago that eventually what I'd love to do with all of these 4D presentations is capture the audio, which I know might be a little tricky because I live in the desert and I'm right under the AC unit here, but maybe just is perfect. We'll allow that it's all perfect, right? Of course. So putting those onto podcasts so that you can listen. So it's inspiring to me to like bump up my game as well. But also I really feel a resonance with this person. Like I really feel. So Seafree, brother, I look forward to connecting with you. I look forward to connecting with you when it serves the Most High. So we're going to get into our presentation now. I'm going to switch screens and we're going to have a look. And again, I'm so very grateful that you are joining us here now. I thank this beautiful, beautiful community. We're going to go into screen sharing now. Okay, here we go. So let me just make sure you got it on your side. Okay. All right. We are all Neos, inspired by This Esoteric Life podcast. So what I want to do is I want to go straight into our next picture. I'm going to read it for you, and then I'm also going to read what was posted by Seafree with this. So let me come on into... So the other day, pardon me 1 second. Okay, so the other day, Seafree posted this, and like I saw it, and I was just like, I was totally like Keanu here. I was just, whoa. And feeling it. You know, how are you doing with these eclipses? These have been so massive in just cutting out the BS, cutting out all the stuff that is extraneous, that really is superfluous and that does not serve to lighten your load, for where you may be called to go. So as you can see, this post reads, when you realize awakening was just the beginning, and now you start your esoteric training, which is the real work you were called to do. And I think it's hilarious, right? Because we see Keanu, whoa. And because esoteric is not a word that I use here generally, I just found a little clip from online from unimedliving.com. Esoteric. Everybody comes from the esoteric. It is in them and of them. And it is the same in everybody. Everybody has the esoteric on the inside. This is a fact that belongs to the meaning of the word esoteric, the innermost. The dictionary defines the word esoteric as special, mysterious knowledge only known by a small number of people. Many think it has something to do with magical practices, strange rites, and irrational beliefs. It is used to indicate an inner circle or something reserved for a few. However, the truth is that everyone at essence is esoteric because it simply means to connect and to live from our innermost. I love this. I really, really appreciate this because, again, this is not a word that I use, yet it is so resonant because it colors outside of the lines. And it made me think of this word, eclectic, deriving ideas, style, or taste from a broad and diverse range of sources. Because if you look up esoteric, you'll see that it includes a wide span of studies. Gnosticism, Freemasonry, occult, the New Age teachings, sacred geometries, all of this sort of 4D, otherworldly, multidimensional aspects of being are contained in esoteric. So I want to come back to this, and I'm going to read you what Seafree posted on Instagram with this picture. We are all neos after our initiation, beaming with light like old souls in new bodies. Let those with ears hear. After the candidate wakes up to the true nature of the mystical path, which is a general reformation of the world and the way things are, he or she has to ask the logical question: why should I have such knowledge about the world when I can't do anything about it? Of course, your inner Morpheus, the Word of God or the Divine Mind, informs you plainly. Free your mind, and you will learn of your true power and ability to make change in the world. Basically, waking up to the crazy way that things really are is only to be pointed in a direction. And while recognizing the fallen aspects of humanity is vital and brings noticeable relief, this itself is not the work that needs doing. Many who seek to improve the world only get to level 1 of understanding, but they never step onto the path of mental training, so they never free their minds from the very problems they seek to destroy. How many activists achieve nothing more than emboldening those they claim to fight against? Fire makes more fire. We humans are the masters of transmutation. We change one thing into another. Hate only empowers hate, but hate can be slowly changed into neutrality and then slowly changed into love. And with free minds, we can strategize clearly and devise a true solution to the problems we want to solve. Godspeed. And then he writes, P.S. if you don't listen to our podcast, now is the time. I fully agree. Go check them out. And later I will come back and I will put links to his site and also to 1 or 2 other things. So this is it, right? This is like such a journey to just traverse through our own minutia, our own pain, our own fears, or even just to realize, like, wait a minute, there's something else out here. There's something else in here besides what I've been told, besides what I've been taught in school, besides everything that the world shows me. It seems there's more, and I know, I have a feeling there's more. So this takes us here, and I want to play this for you. So mind your volume on your device, and we're going to go ahead and get this playing here.
Do you want to know what it is? The matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. Follow me.
All right, what a nice little flashback that is, right? How long has it been since you've seen that full movie? I think we should do a movie night. That would be so cool. So isn't this interesting? I think there's a lot of interesting aspects in that. No one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. What does that speak to for you? You have to see it for yourself. So no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself is like, it's like those things, you know, you see these posts on social media and stuff. It's like where people talk about other people not getting it. People better woke up, or what posts are saying. I don't mind if people stay asleep or if they wake up. Do you have a preference? Does it bother you? One way or another? I know there are distillation points along our enlightenment journey. And there may be parts of it where you do feel like, wow, people are asleep, man. They don't see what I see. Yet, and this might bring some frustration over time and space, yet then there's another rung to the distillation of your enlightenment where then you realize that it really doesn't matter. But ultimately, this speaks to those people that are really heavily in the Matrix. Don't even know that they're in the Matrix, and that's okay. And it is only when you see it for yourself, when you get it, when you recognize that there is more outside of this collective construct of consciousness that we've been given, this duality, this binary way of thinking, of choosing right and wrong, left and right, no and yes. We've been given two choices, the red pill or the blue pill. And I love these next couple pictures because we think on one hand that this is how Wi-Fi must look, right? Beaming from towers into our phones, into our homes, into our monitors and such. And this is a part of the matrix, because we know if you watch this show, I mean, look closely here at this picture. Oh, sorry about the copy to clipboard snap there in the middle. But if you look closely, you'll see there's these tiny threads, these strings of energy that seem to be around people, moving through people, places and things, through all things, people. And these threads, these lines of energy, are the extensions of this collective consciousness. They are the matrix. They are the grid, as we call it here at 4D Trinity, as I teach it. The grid is the matrix of collective consciousness, of this 3D reality, of the status quo, of what we have been shown, of what we give, of what we have been given to play with. This is the checkerboard. This is the chess board that we've been given, so that as we cultivate our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, we can imagine this is the subatomic snapshot of your thoughts, of your words, of your energy, of your emotion, giving rise to the activation of atoms within your body and all around you, but also giving rise to the grids, to those threads of consciousness that connect your individual body, mind, to the collective through this matrix. And through this matrix, we're connected to one another. And we're connected to all time, space, all dimensions, and everything that you can think of that resides, the grid is a container for. It is akin to the Akashic Records, but it is different. And we will break that down at another 4D Trinity. But so these threads, these grid lines of energy, all of your thoughts, your individual feelings, your emotions from all time and space, through all past lives, if you believe in that, are stored and contained right here in the grid, right here in the grid around us, within us, all around us. Not only are our individual threads of energy of what we create, what we conjure, with our minds, our words, our emotions, not only are those calibrated, but also the collective. So there's a grid of anger, there's a grid of fear, there's a grid of trauma. Maybe they are your personal grids, but they connect you energetically, like attracts like, to the greater grid, to the collective grid of fear, of trauma, of violence, whatever it is. And so that's why when we realize that we are so interconnected, through this matrix, through the mind, through our feelings, through our emotions, and how this matrix, governed by the binary system of love over fear, love versus fear, love or fear, can heavily determine how we configure ourselves to fit in to this grid, to this matrix. And it's when we break out. No one can be told what the matrix is, Morpheus says. You have to see it for yourself. When we start to meditate, we start to have these, quote, esoteric experiences, these out-of-body experiences, or maybe we've had them our whole life and now we're just finally starting to come into them. We realize the power of the mind. And I want to give props here just so that you can see the Mother of Earth. Many of these are just screenshots that I've taken from Instagram or from random places online. And some I have the actual person who posted it where I can give props, and some I don't. Your mind is your home. And this is what we realize, is that everything is mind, and that the grid, the matrix, is all mind. And ultimately, our pathway here is to master the mind. When we master the mind, we bridge heaven on earth. We are at once choosing with our spiritual will to see with eyes of love. We are choosing to see through the heart center, through 4D consciousness, through the third eye with our light sight. Thine eye be single. Your mind on ego, your mind on love. I just thought that was a cute little post. You see the flower of life within beautiful radiance of the sphere where your mind is on love. So we choose, right? But what happens is as we start to unfurl and fold back our petals, it feels really, really good. We get on the love train and we're like, whoop, whoop, okay, I'm feeling this. I'm in the love. I got the love. Let's love. Love everyone. And then what happens is you start to bump up into fears. These old fears that have driven and governed your life. And even unconsciously so. You start to wake up and you start to realize how these fears require your attention. They require disbandment. For you cannot take them with you where you are going, vibrationally, frequentially, where you are going into the 4D consciousness, into your heart space and living heaven on earth. All the struggles, all the strife, the grief, the pain, the horror, the memory of war, of violence cannot go with you. That does not resonate. That does not vibrate on these higher planes. And so the showdown gets to happen through the multidimensions of you and your dark body, your tar body, as we call it here. The part of you that is the toxic twin of the light body. That tar body is a culmination not only of the general toxins in the world. If you believe in chemtrails and that's, distorting your chemistry, then it's that. Pesticides, GMOs, pollution, smog, all the stuff dumped into the soil and the water, just all that general stuff that we all process that gets pooled into the body. It gets the elements, the energetic element aspect of that gets pulled into the aura, right? And so we do our cleansing, or we drink our juices or our teas, and we do our things to just help filter out these aspects. But also we understand that the tar body is the toxic twin because it houses all of your fear, all of your resentment, your guilt, your pain, your shame, your anger, your rage. And it finds a safe place in the energy body. And it even can become a sheath, a layer of your aura. Starts to get filmy, grimy, and dirty. This tar body starts to build up and get thicker and thicker. And it's harder and harder to see with clarity through your heart, through your third eye vision, with love, with light, sight, lit, and activated. As the tar body is fed. And how is the tar body fed? Through a continuation of a certain physical diet, yes, of certain physical aspects of how you live your life. Whether you think about the 10 Commandments or the niyamas and the yamas in yoga, just not stealing and being virtuous, being kind, not lying, being nonviolent, just these basic things towards ourselves, towards our neighbors, our brothers, our sisters. Right? We feed the light body every time we practice self-love, every time we practice non-judgment, we forgive ourselves and others, we feed the light body and we starve the tar body. But we feed the tar body when we allow ourselves to continue in those patterns, especially once we're conscious of those patterns of self-hate, of self-doubt. Everything, addictions, things that once we know that light has been turned on and we know there is another way, but we decide to go back into those addictions, to go back into those unhealthy relationships, unhealthy patterns. That feeds the tar body, and the tar body becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. When you suppress the hate, the shame, the fear, the blame, the tar body loves that. And it becomes so activated that it becomes an actual body. And it will start to walk with you. That shadow will walk with you, and you will hear that voice over the voice of God. You will start to hear that tar body. And the tar body is tar body is a gatekeeper in a way, to the portals. It's like, in order to get to 4D, in order to peak at heaven on earth realization, there has to be a certain balance alchemically in your body-mind continuum. If there's a tipping point, the tar body has to be very low and that light body has to be higher than the amount of tars within you for you to have that feeling realization of love, of oneness, of unity, consciousness, of heaven on earth. Yet that's a part of our meeting ourselves in the matrix, is meeting our shadow and facing it down, like in this picture here, where there's this woman with a gun, right? And she sees the tar body and she's like, I'm facing you down. And the tar body's like, tar body has a gun too. Tar body's all about like your eventual death, the death of the truth of you, the death of the light body of you, so that it can win, right? So that it can devour you and use you to just keep festering, to keep living off of you. And again, the more that we, whether it's, you drink your kombucha instead of your beer, and not to say that one thing is right or wrong, please enjoy your beer. But it's wherever those fine lines are for you. Every time you lie, you're feeding the tar body. Every time you go against your truth in your heart, you're feeding the tar body. And the tar body's like, yes, my lovely, my pretty. Think about that witch in The Wizard of Oz. You give it the driving wheel every time you surrender and you don't stand up in your true power and authority. But when you do, then you begin to face your shadows down. And this is a part of our path of self-love and self-healing and devoting ourselves to activating the light body. And often a passageway of getting through this matrix and into the light, into that 4D, is facing your shadow down, is sucking it up and meeting your shadow. And you choosing life over allowing it to kill you a little bit day by day by day, because that's what the tar body wants to do. It wants to maybe not kill you right now, but to slowly drain your energy little by little by little by little, so that you suffer a lot. It loves your pain. It loves your guilt. It loves your shame. So we are learning to heal these parts of ourselves, to place love, to place light, to attune to love and light so hard, so deep, so powerfully, and with such faith that, yeah, as you bridge that light, your tar is going to be wiggling in its boots, because it's used to having the lights off, you see, and you're turning the light on. And there's a chapter in my book, The Reiki Apprentice, where I have an actual showdown with my tar body in an altered state. So often this is a part of our transformation and our transition. And as Morpheus was saying, so right, we know in this movie, The Matrix, you have the red pill or the blue pill. If you could take one of these pills, which one would it be? And I'm sorry, I haven't been reading the comments. I'm going to go to the comments now. Morning, divine timing. Everyone wakes when they must. They will seek when it's time. Yeah, it's true. There's no forcing of a will. Right? And I think that is such a powerful thing, because again, there is this sense of frustration amongst a certain page, a certain thread of the grid that's out there, or that's posting on social media, that where there's a certain impatience with the rest of the world. Like, y'all better get the fuck waked up or else, And it's like, well, you know what? Or else what? Nothing, because that's the level of consciousness, perhaps, that these grids of people are at. And so for them, perhaps that's home, and that's fine, and that's perfect. And so we get to step down from any soapbox in attempting to change people, attempting to change who they are or their trajectory, right? If someone comes to you and is seeking to have a conversation about these aspects, then up to you, your guidance, if you're going to share with them, or what your higher self will guide to channel through you. Yet ultimately, No one can be told what the matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. And as we adventure, oh, blessings, Tammy. Nice to see you here. Thank you so much for dropping a line in the comment box. So ultimately, we know, though, that when we slip out and we slip into the heart space, we slip into greater love, greater light, that we begin to see through the veils. We begin to see, that this whole fear, this whole play, this whole enactment of fear-based reality is this matrix. It is the grid. It is a part of this binary system of this duality, this play. So take one pill. So Tammy, so Will, whoever else is watching, would it be invisibility, teleportation, time travel, to read minds? I'm curious which one you would be interested in. I'm going to type something in. Why not all of them? And this is what happens at a certain point along your spiritual comeuppance, is you start to have greater access to these 4D and beyond abilities. Invisibility, to teleport yourself, ESP, telepathy, reading minds, to time travel. You start to learn how to jump timelines, go into the future, go into the past. It's all an illusion anyway. These are constructs of the grid, and you learn to surf the grid. And that's for a different conversation. Yes, do I have to choose? Tammy says, I love that. Absolutely, right? We can embody all of these aspects. And even greater still, we can allow for the most high divine guidance that lights the way to enliven and activate any or all of these aspects at any given time for the highest good of all. And that's what I've learned, is that we can, we did a 4D Trinity a while ago on ESP and clairaudience and psychic abilities and clairvoyance. And all of these things are great. Yet what we realize is that we can activate these abilities, yet we give it to God, we give it to Source, we give it to love, to use us, to use our voices, use our bodies, use our minds, our word, to co-create that divinity that is that bridge, that ladder of heaven on earth. Not my pill, but thy pill. Oh, very nice. Not my pill, but thy pill. Thank you, Will. So this takes us to Santos. And I know I've talked a lot about Santos. I love him. Later, again, I will go down below and I will add his link. Now, he's a superhuman dude. I love this guy. He goes by Mr. Astro Theology. That's his YouTube channel name. Multilingual, multi-genius. He focuses on astrology and theology. And so we're kind of dropping into an interview that he does here. But now we're going to start to spin things towards trinary. So have a listen here. And again, volume. Let's check our, make sure my little speaker's on. Okay, here we go. And here we go. All right, it's taking a moment.
The atom is at tomorrow. It is flowing in one direction. Tomorrow backwards is yesterday. So mother, feminine energy, is going in the past direction. Male energy is going in the forward direction. But we don't want to be in the past or in the future. We want to be in the now. Now is an anagram for one, W-O-N. And one is the same as one, O-N-E. So to be in the now is to be in the one, in the white light, not in the Thomas tomorrow energy or the matter mother past energy. This is why Neo was given a choice of red and blue but he didn't realize that he already had the right choice because his name, Neo, is an anagram for one.
Interesting.
And yeah, and so he wasn't told of the third choice, which is not to choose at all, to choose or not to choose. You see, when they give you a choice of Republicans or Democrats, they're not suggesting at all that you have a third choice, which is the one not to vote, and that is to be Neo, the one, the magnetic white light. You don't want to be worshipping Domus, Domani, Thomas tomorrow and waiting for the coming one.
Okay. Love him. Love that. So I want to also just make sure, let me just go back here. I want to give props to truthconnections.com. And let me see if I can readjust this so that we can see her name here. This is hosted by Catherine Bukalev. And I pray, did I cut it? I might have cut it off. Okay, sorry there, Catherine. But I'm so grateful for this interview. And I'm so grateful for Santos. And so what was he saying there? So very interesting, right? That and I remember the very first time I heard this interview, my mind was blown because it was the very first time that I was like, Keanu, I was like, whoa, because I realized that Neo, yes, anagram for one, that the whole time he is the one, no matter what the oracle says, right? But the oracle, as we know, our tarot cards, the psychics, your palm reader, whatever you're guided to be with, is always going to tell you what you need to know for your highest good at that time and space. And it may not contain all of the information, or it may have a little sleight of hand so that you think one thing in order to get you in one place. Meanwhile, your higher self has set up the whole divine design to bring you right to perfectly where you need to be. And he's saying, you know, why wait for tomorrow, for the coming one, for the second coming, when the coming is now? There is no second coming that is outside of ourselves. It is all within ourselves. And I love what he speaks to about the pills, right? He's saying, well, wait a minute, Neo's given, and I know here we have 4 pills, but Santos is saying in the movie, Neo is given 2 choices, the red pill or the blue pill. And Santos is saying, well, what about no pill? And I absolutely love that. That's like, you know what? I'm not going into the matrix and I'm not staying here and whatever this is. There is another choice, and that is our trinary. That is that trinary consciousness that is open way through the heart center, through your light sight, through your pineal gland, your third eye being activated, where you see through eyes of love, where you see the expanse of love and only love, quantumity, if you will, where the choices that you have are all rooted in love versus the polarity of love or fear. And we know as we open ourselves, whether it is through our practices, our yoga, our meditations, through sacred journeys with psilocybin, with ayahuasca, with a dear, dear, dear friend and family. He's family to me from many lifetimes. I was on the phone with him just yesterday, and he was saying how he did frog medicine with a shaman recently. And this is a brother who introduced me to ayahuasca. And he just said that it took him into an even further plane of the chessboard, of the checkerboard, of just cosmic consciousness, where things got galactic. And he was expressing how it was maybe the first time where he had really sensed himself and all that is in a galactic way. You know, any journeys or any timelines that he had traveled in the past had been a little closer in, a little closer into the grid, a little closer into the world. Yet he was blown way out, beyond cosmic, into galactic consciousness. And this is what starts to happen for the highest good on many different levels as we meditate, as we make time for silence, for stillness, for prayer, for peace. You don't have to take mushrooms. You don't have to take ayahuasca. You don't have to do any of that. These levels of consciousness, these vibrations, these frequencies, that is everything but the matrix start to trickle in and activate within you. And those timelines start to bleed over into one another. And you don't even realize that you're not living in the matrix anymore. You just realize that you feel good, you have more energy, and there's a lot more love and light in your day-to-day experiences. And I love this post so beautifully. And the words are a little small. I'm going to read them. By Healing Energy Tools, again on Instagram. Those that wear the higher patterns of light out of earth time as we know it will be asked to go beyond what they deem safe and suitable for their experiences. What this means is that you will be given instructions that you ask to, you will be given instructions that will ask you to fly, move mountains, and dance through time and space. You will be given instructions from the universe within the patter of your heartbeat that asks you to surpass anything you thought you could possibly accomplish. And that's from a post by Healing Energy Tools. And this brings us back, right? So love wins. Always, always. Love is the truth. That's what we teach here. But this brings us back to here. When you realize that your awakening was just the beginning, and now you start your esoteric training, which is the real work you were called here to do. Whoa. I mean, like, wow, right? I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and come back over here. So this is divinely powerful. And I'm just so curious with these eclipses that we've been experiencing. How have you been? I know for me, I've had just several beautiful little meltdowns. Let me stop this here. Let me come back. I'm not sure if it's